what's the focus as you guys kind of shift towards Toledo? Is it still yourselves or the other team? How is the balance right now?
No, the primary shift now obviously is heavy Toledo. That's where the eyes are focused, and we know that the big challenge that's coming in, a really talented offense, an experienced quarterback, really talented wideout, two running backs that can really get it done, an O line that's got experience coming back, plus adding some newcomers. So, uh, yeah, that's been the focus. So the last couple of days in terms of both obviously coaches and then the player shift a couple of days ago.
You guys, as coaches, know about the MAC, know about the talent in there. Is there much concern about your players and their focus on the fact that it's not a high profile kind of situation?
Zero worry about the focus there. They understand the challenge that's coming in here. Um, I could be wrong, but I believe they've got votes in the AP poll and we don't. So uh, to to say that you're going to overlook a team that is thought of maybe more highly than you. So um, and deservedly so. I mean, they've what they do against, especially their P4 opponents when they get to play them. I mean, it's impressive, and specifically offensively, how well, if you look at them historically, how well they've played. Uh, Under Coach Candle, offensively, they've moved the ball, they've given people a bunch of fits. And we know we've seen them in 2019 and how well they played in that game, and a turnover to start the second half really sort of changed the game there. But um, no, we understand what's coming in here, and we're going to have to be really, really prepared and dialed in.
Does it help in this era of college football too that so many of your transfers come from Group of Five programs or even FCS programs and know what it's like to be in that situation coming into the
I don't know if
yeah.
that plays a significant part. We all understand, players, coaches, everybody, that when you go and you put the football down, it doesn't matter who you play. And in this day and age, when talent can move around and shift around, um, there's a lot of talented players on every team, and you better bring your A game each and every week, or you're going to get humbled really, really fast. Um, I think our guys right now, they've got a mentality and a chip on their shoulder that they understand that they've got to get the taste out of how last year finished out of their mouth, and that's the focus. Obviously, Toledo as a team is the focus, but we've got to handle our business and do our responsibility, not let whatever opponents across from us. It doesn't matter which one. Um, it's got to be about us and be disciplined. We've got to be physical. We've got to be tough. And not just physically tough. We've got to be mentally tougher this year.
Brent, how do you feel about your game readiness after the second scrimmage compared to the first?
Uh, yeah, I mean, whenever you get that second scrimmage, it means you still have 2 weeks left, and we need all 2 weeks. But I felt a little bit better about the tackling than coming off the first scrimmage. I thought we didn't tackle particularly well. Thought we were better, in scrimmage two, um, and so we're going to need a really good week of game prep next week. Um, but yeah, we'll see.
Brett, how unique is it? It sounds like Chip's going to be their kind of lead back that you haven't seen him play for Toledo, but you've seen him play in practice here against them last year.
Yeah, I mean, we know how talented Chip is, and we know that if he touches the ball and he gets some space, that he can take it to the house. It's not, he's big, he runs behind his pads, he's physical in that regard. Um, the young man they got from North Carolina A&T is a really talented back as well. They return, number 24, who ran hard. So, run game wise, they're going to be physical. They have a great scheme up front. When you have that much continuity on a coaching staff like they have, they understand, how to exploit defenses, and they know how to, I'll say, push your buttons a little bit. And so we have to do a really good job. We have to stay poised. They're going to make plays. We're going to have to try to limit the big ones. And hopefully play really good defense. That's the goal.
Brad, how much, if any, do you guys talk about the new injury substitution rule that's going on? Have you addressed that with your players?
No.
Brad, it's been a big point of emphasis in fall camp so far, and as you kind of gear up for this season, where do you feel like the depth is at on defense right now?
It's an interesting question in that, like, you want to say, man, we feel deep, like but you just don't know. You don't know what you have, because sometimes those guys that are the next ones up, you don't know how they're going to perform in a game. You like how they've been out here on the practice field, you feel good about it, but it's different on Saturdays, and especially if it's a young guy that maybe hasn't had a lot of snaps. The goal is that when they get in the game, they're ready and they're prepared, and they're going to execute, but you just don't know. So it's a question that I don't know if I can even answer that until week 4 or 5 to say, okay, yep, we were a deep team, because there are years in the past that I didn't think we were real deep, and we were deeper than we thought. And then there have been years where I thought we were deep, and then we got some injuries, and it turned out that we weren't. So we shall see.
How do you feel about communication on the field after that last scrimmage? Because the players say they think it's better.
I think there's enough veteran guys out there that talk and communicate, and they understand like what we're trying to get done out there. You can hear it on the practice field, but again, what you want to see is it show up on Saturdays. And I don't want to be. It's not coach speak. It's not like you don't really know what you have until that first game. It's been good on a practice field, but listen, if you get beat for a touchdown on a practice field, or you miss a check or something, guess what? They just respot the ball. There's no tick marks, on the scoreboard. There's nothing on the left or the right. After next Saturday, you're going to have one hash mark, and it's going to either be on the left side or the right side of the column. And so we'll see.
When we spoke last week, you talked about Daver and how he's kind of growing into a leader. We spoke to him after. He said he really feels like there's a group of 4 or 5 guys in the linebacker room that are really stepping up, holding others accountable. Who else in that room have you kind of seen really be a leader on that team?
Well, obviously Alex, right? Alex has been a guy that's been a multi-year starter here for us, and so between Davern and Alex from an age and experience standpoint, but then you talk about guys like Grant Gottfried and Landon Watson, and then a young guy, like Antoine Smith. Those guys have sort of elevated their game. Some of them are younger. Landon's newer. Antoine's just younger, so they're leaning on those old guys. Those guys are pulling them along, but yeah, I think as a group they work really well together. If one of the older guys are having sort of a down day, you can see some of those younger guys sort of pulling them up, encouraging them. They get them sort of snap back in and rocking and rolling. I think we got enough guys across the defense that help, which is nice, just because you're bound to have a bad day. You're bound to have, if something going on in your personal life. And we've got enough senior leadership on here that if they see one of their guys down, like they go lift them up. They go sort of take the baton.
Brad, Mike Weiss is someone we haven't really heard much about or a ton about. Just how has that transition been for him? And what kind of player do y'all think they're going to get when the game starts?
Yeah, really excited about Keys. Like, I think he's got a really high upside. He's been a really steady, consistent, high level performer, through spring, through fall camp for us. And so expecting big things from him this year, and obviously I don't want to, put the cart before the horse. Like, and he wouldn't want that. He's sort of very quiet and more of an introvert, but when he steps across the line, he's so strong and physical with his hands. I'm not even going to do it. I was going to make a comparison from a physicality standpoint, from a way he can potentially affect a game. Like, he has Josh Pascal type potential. All right. Well, but obviously what Josh did in his time here is he showed up on Saturdays, not just on game days. So Keys has to show up on Saturdays and prove that he can do that. But he's had a really good fall camp.
I wanted to
Okay,
ask you
last
about,
one.
I wanted to ask you about the outside linebackers. You know, a guy that you guys kind of brought in that's expected to play a big role. We haven't heard a ton about. How have you seen him in camp roots?
Yeah, I you talk about the outside backers in general, right? That's one position group specifically that I'm just going to reserve any comments because I don't know honestly. Maybe that could potentially be sort of the biggest question mark on defense in terms of hey who's gonna step up and be. We know that position has to be a playmaker, and um, we've we've had a lot of good ones, and I think we've got good ones on this football team. But until none of them have significant game reps in a Kentucky uniform. So until they do, I'm just going to hold on that.
Okay, folks, thank you very much.
Thank you.